Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes.
Everybody, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to the Lazy Booking. No, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Lazy Booking Live here from the BMW of Atlantic City Studios here in Mount Ephraim, New Jersey. And Lazy Booking brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants, located at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA. You can give them a call, 215-369-3300. Remember, the guarantee of taxes in life, it's always there, it's always threatening. So be ready, be prepared, get Gibson Mayer.
Guys, we are live. We are ready for the road to WrestleMania. Welcome to Lazy Booking on A2D. You're here with your host, Mike Chromiak, Chrome. We got Matt Sudi back with us on the couch again. Special guest, Mike Mataraki. We're going to have another guest joining us in about a minute, normally on our ones and twos. Ryan Brodo, fresh off of a couple rounds of golf, sharing some sweet videos and pictures of the beach while we're here freezing our balls off, but celebrating the Eagles. And we got Frank Vespi over here running the ones and twos. Frank, thank you for your work tonight. Guys, welcome. We got a heck of a show tonight. Lots of topics to talk about. I do want to point out one thing first. Tito is back, and he's right in his rightful place on the shitty end of the wall. Right under
Tito Santana.
Right under Tom Brady. Both douchebags. So, we are ready to go, guys. And I do want to say a very special happy birthday to Paulie Hudrick, who does participate on Birds of a Feather. He's a part of the family here at A2D. Paul, enjoy your night. I think it's the Flyers or tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Flyers game tonight. I couldn't remember. One was the Sixers, one was the Flyers.
Up against the Lightning.
Yeah, so
fun.
Which I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot about after we're done at 9:30. 10 o'clock, when Hockey Happy Hour comes on.
We had Dougie P dropping the puck tonight, too.
Oh, there we go.
Ceremonial first puck.
It's good vibes,
That
guys.
guy owns the city now.
Good vibes, guys. Guys, from Scanzano Sports, our poll question of the night, it's simple. It's the Royal Rumble this weekend. Who do you think's going to win the Rumble? Roman Reigns, John Cena, Shinsuke Nakamura, or who else do you think could win it? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Guys, how are we doing tonight? It's been a hell of a week here on.
All right.
It's been a hell of a week for us, guys. Hell of a week for everybody here in the area.
I think I'm fully recovered. Are you?
I don't know. My feet haven't touched the ground yet, buddy.
Since I'm not the football guy, I'm still pumped and ready to go because Rumble's coming up.
Yeah,
so I'm real
Rumble.
ready to
And you
go.
know, you're a Philly guy, and you're happy to see everybody happy, right?
I am happy to see everybody happy. Hopefully the Eagles do win this bad boy.
See, all of us gingers aren't too bad.
Well, it was funny, though. I made the comment last night on AM and the PM that the fact that the Rumble is here on the weekend between the Eagles winning the NFC Championship and going to the Super Bowl.
This could be like the greatest 2 weeks of my life.
That arena is going to be absolutely apeshit on Sunday night. And I'd be willing to bet you any downtime at all on that card
is
filled by Eagles chants.
Eagles chants
you're
all
just
day,
gonna
every day.
EAGLES.
Wait a minute. Go back and do it again.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Go back and do it again.
With more emotion this time.
Let's go.
Jesus, let's go. No chance.
There it is.
Guy tells he's going to come with a walk on the
I'm
screen.
sorry.
and
I'm
he
sorry. I
doesn't do
froze.
it.
I froze. I'm
Well,
sorry.
maybe that was the Brodo walk before.
Maybe that was his version of the Ric Flair strut.
It's like the morph of the Ric Flair strut and the Vince McMahon no chance in hell
Well,
strut.
he threw two of them out there, so he combined them both.
That's great.
Guys, we're going to jump in. We're going to get this one out of the way. We're going to talk about the Enzo situation. We're not going to talk about what's consent, not consent. We're not going to talk about guilty, non-guilty. You know, we're going to stay away from that. We're just going to talk the facts. As everybody, and as a media outlet, we would not be doing justice if we just brushed over it because it's controversial.
Correct.
But obviously, a story came out this week that there is allegations and there has been charges pressed against Enzo for an alleged situation.
It's under investigation.
Under investigation.
There's been,
right,
yeah,
I stand correct.
Accusations have been made, and it is under investigation. Correct.
Right. So there is accusations. There is an investigation going on in regards to a potential rape situation in October 2017 with Enzo. A lot's come out since then. She's talked on TMZ. Friends of what were seemingly or were mutual friends have come out and also rebutted what she said. You could read the details. I don't want to get into the gory details of it. I just want to kind of state the facts because there's definitely a narrative out there that people are talking about. Oh, WWE fired him because of a rape allegation. How can you fire a guy? It's only an allegation, yada, yada, yada. I just want to put that to bed. If anybody really doesn't know, he's not fired for the allegation. And actually today, Rich Swann was cleared.
Well, so Rich will probably be back and may very well wind up winning the Cruiserweight Championship.
Or, at least in the hunt. But, and we're going to get into that in a minute because we're going to talk about how this reflects the Cruiserweight division. But let's just get the facts straight. This is now strike 3 on Enzo. And the strike isn't because of an allegation. It's because WWE has a policy, and it's in every superstar's contract that states if you have a situation of this magnitude, particularly a legal situation.
Any legal matter, correct.
And you do not disclose it to them, you are fired. Or it depending on the magnitude, I think that's where the strike comes in.
They're subject to termination,
but
correct.
At this point, for him, this is already strike 3 with the thrown off the bus, and there was other incidents with him.
So he was
thrown out of the locker room.
He was thrown off a bus. He was thrown out of the locker room because he had guests in the locker room that weren't adhering to protocol.
Yeah.
And then this, strike 3.
Yeah. So let's just put this out there, guys. He was not fired because of a rape allegation. He's fired because it is his job. He has to do due diligence and let the company know that there is a situation going on. And when he was brought into the office on Monday, because he was actually supposed to be in the spot where Heath Slater went through the table with the Dudleys.
I'll see. It's interesting because I heard the same thing, and I actually heard that straight from Bubba Ray Dudley.
Uh-huh.
I also heard that prior to that being the plan for him, he was supposed to be at the Manhattan Center and was going to be the one who took all of the DX and NWO finishers as opposed to the Revival.
Okay.
So regardless, there were plans for him to be
he was taking bumps
heavily,
from some legend. Right.
There were plans for him to be heavily involved in Raw 25.
Right. So essentially, he came in. He was pulled aside by talent relations. They asked him about it because the story had broke, and he did confirm. He denied that he had any wrongdoing, but did confirm that he was aware that there was an investigation that was going on since October. And at that point, they sent him home. Suspension, automatic suspension. They were pissed. From everything I've seen, they were furious that this came out, too, on the day of the 25th anniversary. It's a black mark on it. And the next day, he was terminated. And, again, I'm not saying, right, wrong, guilty, whatever. I don't want to get into that stuff. I back WWE on this decision, though. There's only so many strikes you can give somebody, and we're talking like just being an asshole about a lot of things. Like, let's just be realistic. I mean, the guy lives as a celebrity, and that's fine. That's his right to do so. But you have to respect the company that pays you, and you have to respect those coworkers who you're in that situation with. And apparently, this has just been an issue. I mean, it's you can't cover something like that up. I would be if I had that going on, I would probably be terminated from my job. So I just want to put that out there. I don't know if you guys want to say anything or leave it at that. I mean, I'm going to say if people want to get into what's the dirty details of it, we're not going to get into the dirty details of it.
Well,
you can read it all on Facebook. Everything's there every day, constantly.
Yeah,
so
pretty much. I mean, the only thing to say is WWE making the decision that they made, people feeling like it was crazy that there's only allegations. But the thing is, like, yeah, the third strike and everything, but WWE, regardless of guilt or innocence, they don't want to be on the receiving end of any backlash if he winds up getting charged and he winds up getting convicted, because the last time they had a scandal, they had to change their wellness policy. So they don't want that happening again. It's the last thing they want. So they had to make that decision. There's really no other choice you have. It's something very serious, whether it's allegations or whether it's innocence or guilt. It doesn't really matter in that case. When you're a corporation, you can't afford to have that.
And let's be honest, it's a family corporation now that is publicly traded.
Yeah, and I think big picture, the thing that you need to look at is this is a talent that you've entrusted to be your cruiserweight champion, and maybe you can accept him being removed from the tour bus because of a conflict with another talent. But this is now the second time that there has been an issue with people from outside of the company. And this group of people that are mixed up in this thing, I did a lot of reading on this over the last 24 hours. Putting it bluntly, very heavy drug users. Lots of social media posts, videos, pictures, stories of alcohol use, drug use, potentially illegal situations, like just not the type of thing that a publicly traded company, wants to be tied to in any way.
Right. No, and it's totally understandable. And at this point, that's a huge point that you made, and that's something that I've thought about too. Is that just look at the characters. You look at the characters of that he's hanging out with, and he's choosing to be around, and it's we're just sliding over, guys.
Somebody just give a yell. What the hell do you want?
Slide over.
I'll start swinging chairs.
But you just talk about, you're talking about
Are we good, Frank?
It's very, very evident by the company that he's choosing that this guy has some serious decision-making issues as well.
I think it just comes down to, Mike, and everything you guys have said, I completely agree with. It just comes down to a guy that was previously not known for having a good or by any means average reputation, behind the scenes. Like you said, guys, he's had issues in the past, whether it's with other talent or other situations that has nothing to do with being inside a wrestling ring. And once this came about, this is very serious. It's especially nowadays, it's always been. And WWE is, I think, taking the responsible way of things, and they're getting away from it. They're saying, we want nothing to do with the situation, whether he's innocent or guilty. We're getting away from it now to avoid any big issues, especially, with a guy, like I said, that does not have a good reputation behind the scenes.
No, and there could be a truth to that as well. I mean, he gave them the out because of his previous antics.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it's the overall situation, because you have to question what kind of decisions in this personal life that this guy's now making. And again, that could stem from the other issues that nobody in the locker room wants anything to do with him. Maybe he doesn't have a choice but to surround himself with these kind of people. I don't know. But, it's unfortunate all the way around. In the grand scheme of things, I'll just say this. I hope someone's not being wrongfully accused of rape, but at the same time, I also hope someone who actually is not getting trashed. The truth will come out at some point, whether it's through the legal system or what have you. There's holes on every side of the story. And again, if you want to check it out, read up on it. I don't want to dig into the dirty details. We're sort of a family show in a way.
Yeah. No, I think I think where you have to leave it is just the fact that, like you said, we don't want to be judge or jury here. And certainly her story has more holes than a pound of Swiss cheese. But the fact that this happened in late October and he sat on it basically for,
Months.
almost 3 months before it came out due to, something that was posted on Twitter. To me, that says that even though he may not be guilty of what he's being accused of, he knows he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, the wrong situation with the wrong people, and it could cost him his job. And unfortunately, at this point, it has.
Yeah, so we're going to move on from that, guys. I think we've
God.
discussed enough about Enzo Amore.
I feel like I should take the shirt off. Like it's like
So, I know, what the hell? What kind of a choice was
it
that?
was like my last-ditch tribute to Enzo.
Oh, all right, well, that's all right.
And then I thought about it, and I was like, nah, it's really in poor taste. But, you know.
Right. We do have
Maybe during commercial break I'll turn it inside out.
Yeah. There you go.
We do have a few on Facebook, so I'm going to jump into them, and it's in response to the poll question. Rob Provia, Rob says, what's up, Rob? He says, someone else would love for the Woken One to win, but in the end, the WWE stands for Walk with Elias, which I absolutely love Elias right now. He is on freaking fire, which is great because I was not buying into his character in NXT. But he's a guy that has come up and I think has done a lot of really good things. He's a great worker.
One of the rare guys whose gimmick translates better on the main on the main roster than it did in NXT.
Absolutely. And the weeks leading into when he finally debuted, just kind of the random like walk-bys behind, like interview segments and stuff. It's been golden, and I think he's been fantastic. And he's a true heel in that like he comes out and he's gonna flip the heel switch. And everybody still cheers him. But when he does, he still draws boos. It's almost like people love and respect what he's doing so much at this point that they respect the heel and give him the rightful boos. It's been wonderful to watch.
Better heel right now.
Yeah.
Elias or Rusev?
I don't even look at Rusev as a heel right
Neither do
now,
I.
though.
Yeah, neither do I.
Right? I mean, it's like
It's
weird.
tough.
He's kind of a heel, but he's kind of like I don't know. He's kind of a heel, but he's kind of playing
he's
it
just
for the
Rusev.
crowd.
He's just Rusev.
He's booked as the heel.
He's almost like a tweener right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We'll bring out the old wrestling lingo, tweener.
Yeah.
He's a tweener.
We got Kelly Cruz Bronson, who's my ginger homie. She says, my ginger brother, I don't know enough about current wrestlers, but John Cena is delicious. Oh, Kelly,
right.
Kelly. We
delicious
love you,
and nutritious.
Kelly. Frank over here, he says, wait till they ruin this and pick John Cena.
Who? John Cena.
I might be one of the few people in the crowd. I don't want him to win, but I love John Cena.
Who will make history? He'll be the second person to win 3.
Yeah. Ralph Delavecchia, what up, boys? What up, Ralph?
What's up, Ralphie?
I'm going to address this one time on the show. If you don't hear it, watch it back later. The Tom Brady jersey is not coming down. It has been up there not all season, but since we put it up, they have been on fire. We are not changing things. It is not the time right now to make drastic changes.
Tune in to Agree to Disagree.
Yes.
On Super Bowl Sunday morning.
The Tom Brady jersey will come down on Super Bowl Sunday morning. That's from Kyle Barone. He's my buddy. He says, and I quote, take that fucking Tom Brady jersey
There
down in
is
all
a
caps.
plan. There's a plan.
there's a plan.
There is a
That's
plan
all.
for the jersey.
Yes.
Tune in. You'll see it. But the Brady jersey is not coming down. It is a goat wall. And that said, we took the other ones down, but we feel it's bad karma to take his jersey down when we're going against him in the Super Bowl. Until
to the
Super Bowl
madness.
Sunday.
Think of the Brady jersey as
Tito Santana. That's why that asshole's sitting right under him.
Rocky Balboa's picture of Ivan Drago on the mirror in the days leading up to the big fight.
Yes, that's what it is. It's our Ivan Drago picture
It
hanging
is.
up right now.
That's exactly what it is.
Get pumped. Get pissed every time you see it. All right. So we got Greg Milakovic. What up, boys?
What's up,
I'm
Greg?
going with Daniel Bryan, followed by CM Punk. What up, Greg?
That would be a plot twist.
That would be hilarious. if
Steve
that happened.
Morantz. Who does the WWF want to win? Who are they trying to promote? I still like Wild Red Berry and the Nature
my
Boy,
God.
Buddy Rogers.
Steve's a little bit old school.
That's all right. I love it, Steve. That's
Nature
damn
Boy.
good, brother.
Let's go, Phil.
Buddy
Steve. Let's go, Phil.
Rogers.
Tom Arnone chimes in. What up, fam? Tom, who you picking for the Rumble, bro?
What's up, Tommy?
You're usually the first one to answer the poll question. You don't know
He's
shit
going to
about
say himself.
wrestling.
I guarantee he'll say himself.
Oh, he's going to say Hulk Hogan.
I have to say,
Yeah, maybe. That's a
I
good
have
point.
to say, we're
Brother.
very fortunate that on such a big Eagles week, Tom Kennedy McMahon did not pull us off the air this week. We did not get fired.
Thomas Kennedy McMahon with grapefruits like this.
Nick Eugene, he says, you're walking home if John Cena wins. I'm going with Nick, so shit. He's who I went to the NFC Championship game with, too. I love you, Nick.
I may be able to run you home.
Greg-
Just saying.
Yeah, I got alternatives, Nick. Greg Milakovic says, don't touch my jersey, mofos.
Did
Kelly
anyone
Cruz-
ask his permission? Or
I think there's an ongoing negotiation.
Oh, okay.
Kelly Cruz Bronson says, don't hate on Cena, Nick. And then Nick then says, Nakamura.
I love when the chat starts going on with
Yes,
each other.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton on the YouTube as well.
Yeah, get to YouTube. I'm through Facebook right now.
David Araska, XFL is coming back, and I can't wait to see Mandy Rose win the Ladies Rumble. Hashtag Let's Go Mandy. Todd Womack, glass shatter. I'm here, bitches. And he says, Raw 25 was a letdown. Stone Cold and Vince was great, but after that, a huge flop. And can anyone understand what the Undertaker was saying?
Greg says there has been no permission asked
All right.
for the jersey. Go ahead.
SJM86, talking about the Enzo situation, says, something to note, WWE is now being transparent. In the past, they would never put something such as Enzo's situation in the spotlight.
Agreed.
And I agree with that. He says, Enzo not saying anything gives the perception that something was wrong. No one knows the details, but perception is important.
And listen, I mean, again, not getting into details, but if you're talking about you're hiding something from somebody, I'm not saying he's wrong. But like you said, there has to be some situation where he knows either something he did or the situation he put himself in was wrong. I wouldn't surprise me if, with both ends being so opposite, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But regardless, I'm happy to hear that WWE is being transparent about it. And I feel like as a publicly traded company now, they have to be.
Oh, you
can't
absolutely.
hide these.
No
this
question.
isn't Jimmy Snuka back in the 80s
back in those
killing
days, yeah.
somebody. You know, and
Allegedly.
oh no, yeah,
I mean,
okay, yeah.
with the
allegedly.
wonderful world of the internet, it's impossible
Yeah.
to really hide anything if it's out there.
Dante Hart, Rey Mysterio return. Could be. You never know.
I think
Could be.
that's good point there, and I think we're probably going to throw out some guys that we think could be surprised, and ladies.
SJM86 says WWE needs a strong talent return, perhaps Batista, Jericho, maybe CM Punk. Well, we saw Jericho Monday night.
Was anyone kind of underwhelmed that that's how he came back? That it was backstage?
But you know what? I don't know what his agreement is with New Japan.
I was going to say,
point. That's a good point.
underwhelmed, yes, but Chrome kind of took the words right out of my mouth. Like I'm thinking maybe his agreement with New Japan is he can't actually appear in the ring for WWE.
Gotcha.
Rob Provey, a good point too, that I was thinking about it when you guys were watching, because we're going to transition into Raw 25. He said, I found Raw 25 to be very entertaining, but where was Kevin Nash? Kevin Nash was heavily promoted, and I haven't heard anything about him not being on the actual
Kevin
show.
Nash was actually booked and recently had knee replacement surgery.
Okay.
And was advised that he should not fly because of the pressure in the air the air cabin
Well, you
pressure,
talk
whatever.
about the
and
Chris Candido situation.
Yeah, and
that's
it's
ultimately what killed him.
pretty much exactly what it was. Is that he said something about there was a tweet last week or something like that said, even if Vince wanted to fly me in on his private jet, I wouldn't take the risk.
So is that lazy?
So-
Is that lazy that they didn't take him out of the promo packages even up till the day before
I mean, you would think, but
or the day of? Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't pull him from those pack. Even the pre-show on the network, he wasn't pulled from the preview package.
They were probably still trying to figure out how they're going to fill probably 100 segments in 3 hours
Yeah.
because they really didn't do that.
well, and it was interesting though because we we had heard, was it last week, that they didn't have a hard stop at 11:14 or whatever their normal, go home time is on USA Network. But they really didn't have that much of an overrun either. And there were a couple of things that happened at the Manhattan Center that I think would have been great to actually have on the show if they had that much extra time. So
I agree.
I mean, plus also the matches themselves weren't really anything to look at and say, like, it's a Monday Night Raw, it's your 25th show. At least do something. Like, put something out there. The only match that was somewhat good was Roman Reigns and Miz, and we all knew what the ending was going to be because the Miz won the belt.
I actually thought that was a really good match for what it was.
Fantastic. Yeah. The last time we're going to mention the jersey just because Tom says on here, we're burning that bitch to the ground, Greg. This is bigger than you. We're leaving it at that. There's no permission needed. Tom also says, best wrestling show in the biz, #real talk. Gina Rambo joining us here says,
hey,
hello,
Gina.
hello,
Gina?
fellas. Wrestling talk, ? Hell yes, Gina.
Absolutely,
Hell yes.
Gina.
Thursday night, 7:30. Lazy booking on A2D. This is wrestling, baby.
You know what I like, though? That a lot of people are getting the alerts that A2D is on the air.
Absolutely.
And they're tuning into every show.
That's right.
And deciding whether they like the topic or not.
Listen,
and that's what we love.
Listen, we're not one-trick ponies here at A2D. We cover all facets that we possibly can. And that's what we have tonight. The fans wanted a wrestling show. We bought them a wrestling show.
Well, I know, guys. I know Todd Womack says this all the time. He's like, no matter what A2D is on, A2D is on. So I watch.
Love it.
Love it,
Love
Todd.
it.
Awesome.
Man. And then, God, you go there. I got a few more. Go ahead. You go first.
Actually, SJM86 says WWE seems to be using a Bret Hart heel look for The Miz, Intercontinental title holder and all. And I think that's a very, very good comparison. I think when Bret Hart, when the Hart Foundation first sort of broke up, and he was the heel Intercontinental champion, he didn't have nearly as many actual title runs. But I think it's a fair comparison. I just don't know that Miz is ever going to get to that main event status that Bret was at. Not because he's not as good. It was just a different time. And they could push Bret to the top of the card. And there wasn't really anybody else that was going to knock him down.
Listen,
there's a lot of people in Miz's league right now.
I'm going to say something very controversial right now.
Well, that's what you do.
And I feel very, very strongly about this. I'm enjoying more of what Miz has done over the last year than at any point in Bret Hart's career. Shawn Michaels feud.
Yeah, it's
Shawn Michaels main event feud.
I
aside.
don't even think that's controversial.
no.
But I think that's spot on.
I think Bret Hart is the most overrated main event superstar of all time, and he's his own biggest mark. I ain't buying what you're selling there, Bret.
It's his own biggest mark. I
So,
love it.
At this point, I don't think that's a good comparison at all. I think Miz is much better than that. But I see where it's coming from.
So Dante says The Miz and Enzo are the two best on the mic. They need Enzo, in my opinion. I don't think they do. I think they'll be just fine without him.
No, they'll be much better.
The problem, the one thing I've never really liked about Enzo is that he's too, and I know this is the WWE, but he's too sticky. You know what I mean? It's the same thing every week, and it doesn't really evolve that much.
What worked, this is the case of, I felt much better on NXT. It was awesome in NXT, but they weren't overexposed. It wasn't every single week. You come to the main roster, and you're hearing the same shtick over and over and over. Listen, I roll my eyes now when I hear the New Age Outlaws do their shtick. It gets old real fast. And I feel like there are things that he says in his promo, but even if he uses different words, it still goes the same exact direction. He just pulled his thesaurus out to match with a different word this time. But it's not that creative.
Well,
it's the same thing.
The
best promo he had was when he tore the whole division apart,
the
in the middle of the
division,
ring.
yeah.
I will give him that one. That was fantastic.
I mean, the big problem also with Enzo is that they had so many missteps in his career between after they brought him up. Like, they had all the firepower in the whole world, and then what did they do right at their height? Kill Big Cass and Enzo right there. Right pulling the rug right out from under it.
But for me, it was hitting its tail end. The shtick was old.
Too.
I mean, the thing is, though, is that they could have at least done one championship program with them. at least one, and then you could say, all right, it's over then. Because then the problem that you run into is like Big Cass had no platform to go off.
Here's the thing, though,
Well,
Matty.
Big Cass got hurt. They were going to
That
launch Big
too,
Cass. Let's
but
be fair to that.
Here's the thing. In all honesty, I think the thing that kind of railroaded Enzo Amore and Big Cass's moment was when the Hardys came.
The Hardys came back.
Literally, if the Hardys don't come back, that's their time right.
Yeah, they probably win. They at WrestleMania last year. I think that they would have been the heavy favorite going in if it hadn't been for their return.
Yep.
Here on Facebook, Harris Isaac Nijinsky says Ziggler wins the Rumble. Roman goes to Mania for the Universal on a different angle. The Hurricane for 205 Live GM. I hate the Hurricane, but I would not be opposed to bringing Shane Helms in as a 205 Live GM. I think that could be an interesting and a surprise that they would do there.
I gotta give you this real quick on the YouTube chat. So SJM86 says, bro, they paint Enzo like a ghetto white kid from Jersey. And I said, he is! Exclamation point. He is. He's from Newark, New Jersey. And so he says, I know, Mike, but damn, LOL, give me something a little more clean.
Oh, man. Jay Vosi says, was Shawn Michaels drunk? I mean, I don't think so. Shawn's just a goofy guy at this point.
I think
and he's got a lazy eye, so you can't tell the freaking difference regardless. I don't even think he drinks anymore. Matt Milcarrick, Hurricane for 205 Live GM. Hurricane is the second best gimmick ever behind Undertaker. He is the biggest Hurricane mark. I know Matt. Matt is actually the reason
I don't
why
hate
I
the
have.
gimmick.
Matt's the reason why I have this 2x4 here, right here. From he loves him. I hated the Hurricane. I didn't like him when he was there. The best thing that came out of that whole thing was Molly Holly.
Okay.
To me, I thought that she was fantastic and worked with them well. Tom asks, is Matt wearing a Japanese robe?
No.
He's got his Joker
It's
jacket.
a Joker jacket.
And it looks damn warm, too.
That's why I pushed him away from the heater.
And he says, it's coming at 9:20, LOL. I'm going to slam both mics off the table. I don't know. That was something we must have said earlier. I missed it. Sorry, Tom. James Schulhoff III says, hey, guys, just joining you now. What are your thoughts on Raw 25th? And Jay Vosi, we're going to do that actually now, James, after I read this next comment. Why do you think Balor and Rollins have kind of slipped through the cracks? That's a good question. I think Balor's injury derailed him. Unfortunately, other guys did rise, and it gave the spotlight back to Roman. Kevin Owens, in that time, became a massive superstar. And I just think it was a real weird time for him to come back when he did, too, because there were so many programs going on. Guys like Miz, guys like I just said, Kevin Owens, and there was a lot of guys that they were pushing. And Roman. Obviously, Roman is there. They're pushing Roman. He might have came back around the time the Roman and Cena program, I think, was firing up, too.
Yeah, plus around the Superstar shakeup time period. So
Right.
people were switching shows.
Yeah, so there wasn't a whole lot to really go off.
But can you really say that a guy who is currently one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions, who was a month ago part of the Shield reunion until Ambrose got hurt, has slipped through the cracks? And now Balor, I think Balor slipped through the cracks more, but I think a lot of that had to do with the injury. But now, I mean, they've basically put the Balor Club back together. They got a huge rub on Monday night from being in the segment with DX and Scott Hall. I guess the Too Sweet was bequeathed on from the from DX and the NWO to Balor Club. So
I mean, to your point, Mike, and I completely agree with you. Go back a couple months. When they finally decided to make the Shield reunion, that was arguably the biggest storyline in the company, because that was also when they were trying to fill time when Brock really wasn't around. And that was also, it was the Shield is back. Then Roman gets sick, so then here comes Kurt Angle. So where that's a fill-in. Then, once Roman is back, Dean Ambrose gets hurt. So it's kind of like, oh, what are we going to do now?
Yeah,
Roman
major injury. Yeah.
Roman goes out on his, Intercontinental title thing, to where now it's, oh, God, what do we do with Seth? Pretty much everything around him crumbled, but he's still a champion.
Right.
And he's still in a storyline that's being featured with Kurt Angle's son.
Right.
And then with Finn Balor, you could argue, he's fallen through the cracks more, given all reports were that he was projected to go up against Brock, but he's with his club now. So it's kind of it's a good replacement.
I mean, it's tough because now they have so many talents that are capable of headlining a show and main eventing a show, and the mid-card talent is kind of not there, when you think about it. A lot of the guys who could challenge Miz competently for the Intercontinental title, but they wouldn't be considered world championship material, they're not really there on Raw. If anybody's going to beat Miz, it's usually a guy who has main evented 3 or 4 pay-per-views the year prior. And that's been a big struggle for them, has been finding mid-card talent. It's just been so many main event talent that it's been very hard to balance that out in a lot of ways.
I personally think, and Matt, you and I always talk about this, off air, to where I think Seth Rollins and Finn Balor are 2 examples of, man, that would be much better on SmackDown because there'd be more time for it.
There would be.
When they did the shakeup, I begged to either have Roman or Seth go to SmackDown. The problem with SmackDown, though, is they have guys that are main eventers, and they have no mid-card. The tag team division's decent, but there's no mid-card at all for them. At least with Raw, you have a little bit of a mid-card.
That's still that's the concurrent problem they have, is that lack of the mid-card talent.
But they only have like 5 or 6 main event guys, and some of them are pushing it. So,
well, I hear my thoughts on the situation are, by having Balor be the first ever Universal Champion, even though he's never lost it, or he never lost it, he had to forfeit it because of the injury. And even though they talk about that all the time, they've never really used that in a storyline.
I feel like it's being saved for something.
I feel like it's agreed. I do feel like it's being saved.
I don't agree.
But I also feel like part of it may be, quite honestly, wasted. Because one of the things that they have right now, where there is just a gaping hole that was now made even bigger by Enzo's departure, is they have this redheaded stepchild out there, the Cruiserweight division, 205 Live, where basically they told Austin Aries to go home.
That was a mistake.
They let Neville walk.
That was a mistake.
And now Enzo is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you want to make anything at all out of 205 Live, what you really need to do is you need to have Finn Balor at the top of that card. Oh, well, hear me out. You need to have Finn at the top of that card. You need to have Hideo Itami at the top of that card. You need to have Johnny Gargano at the top of that card.
Gargano's a good name.
You need to do whatever you need to do to get Neville back and rebuild that thing the way that you were originally intended to run it. And when it gets back to where you want it, then you can start moving some of these guys back up to the quote-unquote main roster.
You make a lot of the names you threw out there. I don't agree that Finn should be there, but we're forgetting about a name that they just signed, Ricochet. What a guy to put in there, and then you could feature him and bring him in as an instant impact type of guy.
I mean, that is a possibility. The question is, I'm not saying he wasn't known, but was he known enough?
I think he's what WWE is learning very quickly is guys in New Japan are very well known in the wrestling community around the world, and his work speaks for itself.
It does, but a guy who's never been in a WWE ring will never go straight to the main roster unless they are a major veteran like an AJ Styles or.
I mean, Ricochet's been around for a while.
Yeah, but
he's been around a lot. He's done work in other organizations. The people are very well known.
Oh, I'm not saying
they're very well known to people. I should say.
The marks and the guys who watch a lot of the independent stuff, yeah, they're definitely going to know who he is, and they're going to immediately react when he shows up.
He's been in NJP for a while. It's been mainstream for 3 years, and he's been there pretty much that entire tenure.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. In New Japan, where's the hard camera? How much time do they get for their entrances? Like that's all the stuff that they're not learning how to work.
I'm not saying
NXT.
Throw him in instantly, but he doesn't need to be in NXT for long. 3 months.
No, I'm not saying that.
3 months and up.
No.
If they had him come and debut right now at TakeOver, you could have him up the night after Mania. That's 3 months enough time to build him.
I think what Mike is trying to say with 205 Live is in order to really reboot it, you have to put names on
right,
there. Ricochet
exactly.
could be a fantastic addition in WWE, but he's not a name. And I don't completely, agree that Finn Balor should be on there. But what's going to get more clicks? What's going to get more views? Finn Balor or a star like Finn Balor, a name like Finn Balor, or Ricochet, someone who's new and we've known, we've seen, we've heard of, but nowhere close to a name like Finn Balor.
It's the same
Guys,
problem.
Shinsuke Nakamura, guy came in hugely known. Hey, he didn't have to go to NXT. Before he went to NXT, everybody said bring him up. You didn't need to put him there. But Nakamura is a guy that instantly came in, and everybody, I could guarantee you, if he came up on the main roster, people would have known who he was.
Well, there's that, but then there's also, there are some certain fans who don't watch Japanese wrestling, and a lot of times they don't see the cruiserweights in the same light we see the cruiserweights. We look at the cruiserweights and we respect the cruiserweights. A lot of other people who don't necessarily watch NJPW, they don't understand how important the cruiserweight wrestling is. They only saw it during that time period when WCW was the big thing. That was the match that either opened the card or carried the show or just warmed you up for the main event or whatever the hell the NWO was going to do. And that was kind of how they always treated it. And some fans really never got past that. They still see it that way, and they still see it the way WWE used it in the early portion of the 2000s it was just SmackDown special division.
I feel like 205 Live at this point needs to be stripped down. There needs to be some kind of a purge because there's a lot of dead weight. I like Gulak. Nice is a guy who I think could continue to be strong in there. I like Cedric Alexander. I know Rich Swann is likely to be coming back. Before all this, I was just not a Rich Swann fan. I thought it was too goofy for me.
No, I get it.
I just didn't get it, and I think that there's guys that, to me, are a little more entertaining in the ring. TJP, he can go.
Not a big fan.
I like Kalisto. I know he's hurt now, but I would love to. I loved Kalisto, and I thought
Actually,
he
worked last night.
Did he work?
Tuesday night.
Well, I know he had that fractured face when somebody threw something at him.
Yeah, it was actually there was a 6-man tag.
Fractured eye socket.
Yeah, it was a 6-man tag. I laughed hysterically when they did the introductions too. So 6-man tag, and the babyface team is Kalisto, Grand Metalik, and Camden's own. Come on now, the mask.
I don't even watch 205.
I know who you're talking. I could picture him.
Matty. Come on.
And I can picture him too.
I was about to say freaking El Dorado, but is it
Lindsay
Dorado.
Dorado. There we go.
Who's from Camden, but they bill him from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But that's so all three of them come out under the masks, and then the heel team is T.J. Perkins, Aria Daivari, and Tony Nese. And I basically left it on long enough to watch Tony Nese count his abs, and I was done.
I just think
I love him.
Real quick,
a lot of the other ones though, not so much.
In order for this 205 Live thing to work, they need to give not only the hardcore fan but the casual fan a reason for them to care.
Right.
And the 205 Live has such the reputation to where it's completely laughable. It's an embarrassment. They need to go above and beyond, maybe too much to a degree, in order for them to get viewership again, because they can sell, and I understand what they were going with it initially was cruiserweights, 205 Live, great matches, or they're going to fly around the ring. But it's shown that that's not good enough. You need more than that, unfortunately.
And they shouldn't be on Raw. I think if you just pull them completely off of Raw and just have it be its own show, I think it'd get a lot more mileage as well.
Correct.
No, and I agree, and I think I'm not opposed to having the main event advanced, the main event program advanced on Raw, but these other throw-in 6-man tag matches, I've been saying that since it started. There's no business.
It's filler.
Thank God they stopped taping the ropes purple because that pissed me off to no end. It was like segregation. Like you're making these guys like a second-class citizen to the rest of the superstars.
You're absolutely right.
Like it pissed me off. They did it at WrestleMania. They taped the fucking ropes at WrestleMania. I literally sat in the crowd and I'm like, if they tape these ropes, I might get up and leave.
on the pre-show, not even WrestleMania.
I'll tell you what though, talking about 205 Live and the Royal Rumble, if I see one 205 Live superstar in the Rumble, I might lose my freaking mind.
I will prepare for that because
it's going to happen.
You'll get at least a couple of them.
Well,
how does that make sense?
Well, hold on. One person's going to be
get Gulak.
Well, and Cedric Alexander, because that's going to be a makeup for the fact that him and Enzo are now not happening at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and I mean we'll see what's going to happen.
I think you're going to get 3 actually. I think you're going to get Gulak, Cedric, and Tony Nese.
Am I wrong for asking why that makes sense? Because it doesn't. If they are in there, it doesn't make sense because they only wrestle in cruiserweight exclusive matches. To where they're their own
Well, now they're wrestling
brand.
Goldust. So
yeah. Now Goldust is a cruiserweight apparently.
Listen, you can't say because of that because Rey Mysterio won the Cruiserweight. I mean, he won the Royal Rumble. And, I mean, I know he wrestled against main event guys, but you're still talking about a small guy with the same style that has won the Rumble before. You have to have filler. I'd rather see them do that than trot fucking Sergeant Slaughter out there or Tito Santana and his granddad
Actually,
bod out
Ryan,
there.
what I could give you is
But I know what you're saying.
imagine a spot where 5 or 6 guys get eliminated all in a row, and they're battling on the floor.
That's usually where these guys come in.
And then what happens is one of these cruiserweights comes in and decides that he wants to get in Braun's face. Well, not Braun, but a Braun-ish type of character. Maybe Big Show, somebody like that.
Yeah.
And literally just picks him up and throws him like a dart over the top rope onto a sea of people who catches him. And because he doesn't hit the ground, he gets back in and then winds up getting eliminated immediately.
And you always have those people who have the spots.
Yeah.
Even if they're not in it for long, they have these high-flying spots or, acrobatic spots where they somehow stay in and
People were loving the Sergeant Slaughter reference, by the way.
Oh, it's true. I mean, how many years have we seen that at this point? He's like the go-to still, and it's 2018. Let's call Slaughter. We need a spot filled.
It's him and Duggan, probably.
Hey, Hacksaw's our friend.
No, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying.
I know.
Yeah.
Hacksaw's our buddy. We can't.
Don't you
we
put
can't
that
get-
on me.
We can't get upset. Don't you come in my boy Hacksaw.
He's my friend, too.
Arriba!
Yeah, put him and his granddad body out there. We'll be good to go.
So where are we? We need to get back on topic.
We're going to get back to 25. I'm just going to read these ones. We don't even have to respond. But and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just I
We
feel
want to
like
get everybody's
we bypassed that question
props
earlier
out
that I
there.
wanted to get to. Jim Martell says,
What's up, Jimmy?
is that the model, Jim Martell? Jim, you better be on every week. I just gave you a nickname. What a week in Philly. Wing Bowl, NXT, Royal Rumble, Smackdown, and the Super Bowl in a Birds Parade 2 Tuesdays from now. I
Gotta love
the
that.
enthusiasm. My man, let's hope for it, brother.
Actually, wow.
I mean, if let's hope it happens, we win. You go from that euphoric NFC Championship night, and that 2 weeks building after that, crazy.
Well, I'm just thinking about even
That's my phone.
like what the
Ironically
hell?
enough, that was the next comment I was going to read.
I'm like, if you just start with Saturday, and you go on Saturday, you go NXT on Saturday, Rumble on Sunday, Raw Monday, SmackDown Tuesday. Give people 2 days to catch your breath. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's the Wing Bowl.
Yep.
And then Saturday is what I would like to call the calm before the storm, but if you tune into A2D Radio,
I was gonna say,
there's going to be some stuff. And then Sunday's the Super Bowl. That is going to be a ridiculous 8 days.
Yeah, actually, let me plug that real quick, just so everybody knows. We are doing a special show 2 Saturdays from now. Next Saturday, 1 p.m., we're going to get a bunch of hosts from all the different shows. We're going to change up the lineup on the couch. Tom's going to host, get some different views, hopefully some new, fresh arguments, some commentary. It's going to be, we haven't decided if it's going to be a 2 or 3 hour show, but it's going to be a great show to tune into, get you guys ready for the Super Bowl.
It's going to be a big one.
It's going to be huge.
SJM86, here comes Scott Hall, totally smashed, barely able to make it to the ring. Fuck it, bring in DDP.
They had to go to a freaking commercial break. Did you notice that? I mean,
Uh.
I'm sure that had nothing to do with it, but it was just funny. Like, he's coming out and it's like, oh, commercial break. We have time.
Go to commercial.
We're going to do Raw 25 after this question. I don't care what comes in. Not that I don't love you guys, but I feel dead that I put James's question off with.
All right, go ahead.
So, but this is actually, this ties into it. So let's go with it. Raw 25, we have the question from Doug Bond. How did you guys interpret the Undertaker's promo? Interesting question because I didn't know what to take from it. It almost sounded like it could be a final salute and a walk away. I'm still not buying it's not Cena. Until Cena wins the Royal Rumble, if Cena doesn't win the Royal Rumble, I'm still not buying that he's not facing the Undertaker. That'll be like let me respond to that next week type of question. But
To answer his question, well, when I'm watching it, the entire time I'm thinking, okay, is he talking about Cena here? Is he talking about Cena here? Because we've been talking about it for weeks. The rumor is it's Cena. You know, if he wrestles again, it's Cena. the way he was talking in his own, it seemed like he was giving closure to everything. He said that all of his opponents and everything, you may now rest in peace. But then freaking Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler say, well, I don't know what to say from that. Is that a threat? And I'm like, what the?
Yeah, well, it's
But
almost
honestly,
like they're
that
teeing
was-
us up for more.
But that was exactly how I took it. I sat there listening to it, and I'm like, okay, so he's not really calling anyone out, but he hasn't really retired. And he's talking about all of the people that he's already beaten can rest in peace. But if he's already beaten them, aren't they already resting in peace? Like, I was just like, honest to God, I sat there for a second, like, after that promo and was just like,
it's like listening to a Bray Wyatt promo,
It's
trying
like-
to, like, decode it. and
oh,
figure out
actually,
what the
I
hell.
think Bray Wyatt promos are more logical and have
Yes.
some sort of meaning at the end.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there listening to him, and I'm like, the hell did he just say?
And after he got done, like, I didn't really think about it too much because I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're going to see him in about 30 minutes in the other arena. So then, Elias is, doing his thing, and then Cena comes out. So then I'm thinking, okay, Cena's going to beat up Elias. He's going to be standing there. He's going to be talking to the crowd, and all of a sudden you hear dong, and then here we go.
Well, I thought that for sure because, again, at the Christmas thing, we saw almost the exact same segment with Elias and Cena. So, like, it can't be just them two, which I didn't hate that, but
And
it
then
was just very confusing.
And I remember reading back on this now. I actually thought about this morning. So Samoa Joe, and it intertwines. Just bear with me. So he's injured. He's out at the moment. I remember reading about a week ago something saying along the lines on there was a planned spot and angle involving Joe and Cena.
Right. Well, they go
Which is-
back like 20-some-odd years.
Yes.
Yeah, and they actually, I think they worked. They came up together, same tryout and all that, I believe.
Way back. Well, I
Back
think
in the early
didn't
2000s.
they also worked like PWG
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
years ago.
So, and it said that whatever angle that was on that night was supposed to be scheduled
prototype.
for the week ahead, either on the 25 or on the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
So then now I'm thinking about, and then they said that since Joe was injured, whatever angle was going to be replaced with Elias. So then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe this was planned all along, to where Undertaker was never supposed to come out, and it was just going to be an initial plan of Joe and Cena, and this is just what they did with it. So then that makes me think, if something is really planned with Undertaker and Cena, is it happening this weekend?
I don't know. Usually I have a gut feeling about things. At this point, that promo made me more confused. I think I'll have a little clarity after this weekend. But, I think we all will. I don't know what to make of it. If he comes back, I want it to be Cena. I don't want to see anything else. If he's not coming back, I'm fine with that. He's done enough. He had a great send-off against Roman. Plus, I'll be there, so I want to be there and see it twice. The second time. I want to see it the second time. But, no, I don't want to see Cena and Elias at WrestleMania. We just watched that on the Christmas special.
I think that'll be done within the next
Yeah.
2 months.
Right.
Well, February is a Raw pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, because I think SmackDown had the December one.
Yeah, so if February is a Raw pay-per-view,
Elimination Chamber.
I don't know if they're going to put Elias in an Elimination Chamber match.
Well, listen,
With Cena?
we're going to get into that with our Rumble preview, but that's part of the reason why I have my pick for Rumble. But, yeah,
Interesting.
it's going to be interesting, and I hope. Has anybody heard about Joe? Is Joe healthy enough to come back?
No.
No.
He
No,
said
he's
he's
out.
probably out until the Monday after WrestleMania.
Oh, that sucks.
Because
man.
he won't be healthy in enough time to get him into a logical program.
That sucks.
Is it just me, or does it seem like every time they get to WrestleMania, somebody key to the card gets hurt? In the last 4 years, it's been a recurring
Oh,
theme.
yeah, it happens all the
It's-
time.
So what? The biggest two names are Ambrose and Joe, right? Am I missing? Is there?
You
a
mean you're
bigger-
talking currently right now?
Yeah, that are going to be out.
Yeah, if you
Right.
want to call Ambrose a big name.
Well, big yes.
Big
No,
enough.
Yeah, big enough.
You can call him John Moxley.
John Moxley.
Nick Papagiorgio won't mind. Shout out to Nick.
Shout out to Nick. Good man. Great show last week, guys. If you didn't check that episode out, check it out. Nick gave a great interview. But let's talk about the rest of Raw 25. I thought the opening segment was awesome. you had the McMahons come out and kind of get away from character, what seemed for a minute, and praise the crowd, praise everybody for the last 25 years. Great video package. And then you had Vince come out, and I love Vince. I love that Vince can just flip the switch. So he went from Vince McMahon, CEO, to
Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon, just like that. And it was just
You gave me a plaque?
it's those little things.
You mean
Why
what?
you pitched in for this?
It looks kind of cheap, but we are here in Brooklyn.
No, it was great.
And then boom, and it's on.
Oh, it was great. And as Matt was talking about prior to being on the show, I mean, kudos to Vince at 72 years old. Takes a stunner.
He didn't take the kick very well, though.
Well, he never
never
did,
could.
though.
Or
Ever
should
took
I
the
say
kick well.
Austin didn't lay the kick in very well.
Well, I think he was kind of like, I don't want to really kick him.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
a little old.
It almost felt like the first stunner. I was like, is he awkward? I don't like. Is he a little out of practice? But I think it was more of I don't know how quick Vince is gonna pop down or go up.
Yeah.
Because I thought his stunners with Shane were fantastic, including number 2, which was the fountain.
Yeah.
The beer fountain was fantastic. But I thought that was great. I was underwhelmed by the show. I did like seeing guys like MVP come back. Particularly, I had met MVP in the fall at a wrestling event, and I was talking to him. I don't want to put a lot of what he had said to me because he talked to me about stuff in confidence, but it seemed to me like, I mean, everybody knows he's at odds with Hunter, or he always has been. I didn't think there'd be a chance in hell. So I was surprised when I think it was a day or two before they said, oh, by the way, MVP is going to appear on the show. I've always been an MVP fan. So I thought there was little good things.
I thought a lot of the backstage stuff, like a lot of the nostalgia stuff, was cool.
It was okay.
I thought, though, I think the 2 segments that made me laugh the hardest on the backstage stuff was Mark Henry running into
That was
Godfather.
the Godfather.
fantastic
and,
segment.
and the Godfather introducing her as the segment goes on as his wife.
Yes.
I was dying with that. And then the
It was kind of like a full circle for the Godfather.
oh yeah.
But the best part was, I don't know if you saw this. Somebody responded with it on, I think it was Twitter. And they were like talking about how they enjoyed that segment and how it came full circle for Godfather. But I felt terrible for Mark Henry. His Mae Young is now dead. And now he's resorted to hitting on hookers. Trying to pick up hookers
That was
backstage.
great.
It was just a great response to
But
it.
I loved that, and I loved. I thought the APA poker skits were cool. I did think that they may have gone to the well one too many
it was
times.
a couple too many segments with it.
But I thought the where I actually particularly enjoyed it was just early on, where it's just the APA playing poker with Rhino and Heath Slater, and Heath Slater loses all of his money, and he goes, "I got kids." And then Ted DiBiase just walks in and throws the money on the table, and he
great.
goes, and then just starts laughing. I was like, all right, this is
fantastic.
good.
Did anyone else enjoy the fact that they just had the prop door just
Yeah,
chilling?
Always.
Yeah,
Well, the
it's
best
great.
thing
I love
ever, though,
that.
was
Yeah.
that they couldn't find the key for the prop door.
Did you? The thing that I loved, and I think it occurred right after the McMahon Stone Cold segment, was when Kurt's in his office and everyone just knocks on the door. Come on in, and then it's Teddy Long doing his.
Well, it was funny because I sent a message to Chrome literally like within seconds of Teddy Long walking in. I just sent a message to Chrome. I'm just like, holla, holla, holla.
Oh, I did. Wait, and you know what I enjoyed? And I'm going to say it, as my buddy Nick would say, Dana Brooke, the Walking Brazzers promotion. Jesus. Oh, man.
dude.
I love me some Dana Brooke, but she is a Walking Brazzers promo.
Oh,
just,
good Lord.
Just the back-to-back. Like, I honestly was very underwhelmed with it just because
Yeah.
I had so much high expectations. Like, we were talking before the show, and I said, like, this was kind of their most notable comparison to Raw 1000. Like, that's pretty much the last time they had something like this. Like, they have the old school Raw.
1000 was better.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
But, like, they hyped it so much coming into this past week to where, like, oh, my God, it's going to be a thing, to where you can compare the two. So when they started out the show with Stone Cold and Vince, and then the backstage segment with Kurt and all of, the legends or the past characters, I was geared up. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be 3 hours of this. It's going to be incredible. And pretty much after that, I mean, like we talked about, like Miz and Roman, it was a great match. But other than that, it was kind of.
Well, I got something here that I want to run by you guys real quick because it kind of leads into the end of that first hour. David Rosca says, "Is the Miz the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time?" And then Dante Hart says, "I think they're building towards a Daniel Bryan versus the Miz match."
Which I have Doug Bond actually asked, are we going to see that match too? I think we should definitely save that one for the other side because we're going to start talking about Rumble.
Okay.
The last things I want to read because we're going to get ready to take a break, though. Greg says, if Dana Brooke is wearing actual clothes, get her off my TV. He also asks, which of the old school ladies on stage find their way into the Rumble? We're going to hit that on the other side. Last thing I just want to say, as cheesy as it kind of was, I did enjoy the last segment of it with the Balor Club, and we kind of touched on it earlier. Yeah. But I liked how I think it was definitely a passing of the torch showing, hey, we're cool with, the Bullet Club or whoever it is, the club, using the Too Sweet. Totally cool with that. The revival, I just enjoyed it. So we'll talk more Raw 25 on the other side if you guys want to keep talking about it. We're going to get into a Rumble preview. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Don't forget, we got the poll question. We'll read that again on the other side about who we think is going to win the Rumble. Matty, hit us with some sponsors, brother.
All right. Well, this segment was brought to you by the Sports Outlet for all your sporting needs, located at 703 Black Horse Pike, Englandor, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-939-2030. You can email them at sportsoutletnj@comcast.net or visit them online at www.sportsoutletinc.com. This is Lazy Booking here on A2DRadio.com.
Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Hashtag it. No notes. Hi, folks. Bob Mannery here. You're listening to A2D Radio, real sports talk radio for the fans, by the fans, no agenda. These guys are the best in the business. Tag it. No notes.
Everybody, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and everybody's got a price for lazy booking. Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Lazy Booking. Go, it's true. It's damn true. Ho! Hey, folks, I'm WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and if you want to know what's going on in wrestling, check out Lazy Bookings. Ho!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Do not adjust your laptops. We did not disappear like the positive steroid test for Brock Lesnar that he decided not to take. This is Lazy Booking here on A2DRadio.com, and we are brought to you by the Scanzano Sports Center, located at 5 Carnegie Plaza in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can give them a call at 856-889-3434 or visit them on the web at www.scanzanosports.com.
Guys, we are back. Second segment here on Lazy Booking on A2D. We got Frank over here, ones and twos. You got Chrome. We got Matty. We got Mikey over here. Ryan coming around into the front of the camera this week to join us for a very special Royal Rumble preview show. Guys, I think what was the one thing that I thought was notable that we didn't touch on was what I thought was a great segment with AJ Styles and bringing in Mean Gene Okerlund and kind of for a split second going into the Hogan promo.
Channeling his inner Hulkster.
Oh, it was great. And Gene's face when he did it was priceless. Absolutely priceless. But I thought that was another one of those really cool moments from Raw 25.
What I really liked about that segment was the way Gene handled it after the nod to Hogan. It was exactly the way Gene used to do the old interviews, where he would literally ask one question and then just let the talent run with it. And maybe at the end he would come back in and he would be like, "Don't you dare miss it."
Oh yeah.
But it was a classic Okerlund interview, which is basically a non-interview.
And even with like the facial expression after the Hogan nod and all that, that's what he used to do. Guys would say things and he would do his job with facial expressions almost. And it was just, he reacted and it seemed very genuine and he did a fantastic job. I loved seeing those two. That was definitely a throwback and a nod with the new generation. Well, new generation, though.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we are back, guys. We're going to dig into Royal Rumble here in Philadelphia this week, guys. We got a hell of a weekend coming up.
These two like rubbing their hands like they're about to eat. Nice. I love it.
Feed
You guys are just like,
Feed me more.
Matt, we were talking about this before. This is my favorite pay-per-view. It really is. And it's kind of like, we talk about it every year. I always look forward to it, and, I get excited for it, leading up to it in the week. And I hope it's different this year, but it's kind of like the last 3 years I've been like, it's kind of been disappointing.
It's been disappointing because of the choice of the Rumble winner. The lack of any major things happening, really, besides the surprise entrance, which you all know is not going to win the Rumble. It's just, besides that, there really wasn't much appeal to it because every year they'd find a way to pick the person everybody did not want to win the Royal Rumble.
Last year was in Pittsburgh, right?
No, it was in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome.
San Antonio. The year before that was Pittsburgh, right? And then
Philadelphia.
Philly again.
and then Pittsburgh before that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was San Antonio, Philly, Pittsburgh. I just had the order out of whack there.
Actually, I don't think that's right either. There was one in between Philly and
Pittsburgh.
No, Pittsburgh. It was Pittsburgh, Philly. There was another one, and then there was last year's in San Antonio, I believe.
Whatever it was.
I'll get that while you guys are.
Yeah.
But here's my thing, right? And I know, we talk about disappointments and things coming from the Rumbles in the past few years. But now I feel like it's like a hindsight kind of a deal because you go back and you look at when Batista won. I was in Pittsburgh, and that was a hot crowd. And, again, I was fortunate enough to be in that crowd. I was also fortunate enough to be the next year in Philly. And now I look at it in hindsight, like you had this epic story of Daniel Bryan that came out of that decision, though.
All right, I got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
It
go
was
ahead.
so Philly this year, obviously. San Antonio was correct. Orlando at the Amway Center, which is when AJ debuted.
Yes. I knew there was one in between.
Philadelphia, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That's right, because that's the Rumble Roman one, right? In 2016?
Correct.
He won
Yeah.
back-to-back, I believe, right?
No.
No,
He defended
Batista.
the title the following year,
Right,
but
that's right.
Triple H beat him.
Triple H.
Oh, that's right,
yes,
Triple H.
that's right.
No,
you're right.
then that means I'm wrong. 2016, Triple H won the Rumble that year because
Yeah.
that's when he won the belt.
Right. Roman won in 15, Batista won in 14. But I look at those things and kind of in hindsight how everything played out after. It kind of worked out in a lot of ways for WWE and storytelling. It's just unfortunate, 15 was tough when Roman won because people were anticipating the Bryan thing and the way that went down. But again, you got one of those historical moments that only crowds can provide to where he was absolutely trashed. And then following the end of that year in December, when Roman was properly built during the chase, you kind of had that wrap around where it was the total opposite. He finally won the title on Raw from Sheamus. It was a huge moment. People were backing him. Now, again, the booking going forward didn't do him any favors, and it kind of almost made a U-turn.
Were you there that
but,
night? Raw when he won?
I had fourth-row seats for
Yeah,
that
that
one.
was
awesome.
It's interesting because I've never seen a crowd so against someone completely flip and be so absolutely nuts when he actually did win the title.
Well, if I share, I could show you. I'll send you the links on my personal YouTube page. I have crowd videos. They're long ones too of both Rumble and of that Raw, and you can definitely feel. And I'm like the guy who is like booing the shit out of him, and then I'm like, "Yeah, Roman, you deserve it." You can hear me saying it. Like I was on for the ride, man.
Well,
I'm on Roman's side now. By the way, I don't hate Roman now. I kind of like that he has the
Guy
heat.
works his ass off.
To steer back though for a quick second with the how they've come out in the storylines being the hindsight and everything though, I feel like last year was the opposite of that because truthfully with Randy winning, that didn't really lead anywhere. Like Bray won the belt to be a transitional champion, and then that was a terrible WrestleMania match.
To me, the booking for that should have been the opposite. Bray wins the Rumble. Then you build a new star out of that. And then you have that whole thing with Orton. You could still do it similar how it did. I hated the house.
So can
burning
we
down
say that
thing.
last year was some lazy booking?
That was lazy booking.
You took the words right out of my mouth. It was backwards. It was completely backwards.
Yeah, and that was a huge opportunity to put Bray into that next level. And you gave him a title run.
This is interesting. Todd Womack says, I see a spot with Karma and Nia Jax. And I think we talked a little bit about that last week.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that she
awesome,
could be,
awesome
she could be
Kong, Karma.
That's
and
a
then
fun match.
Dante Hart says, I'm sticking with Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh, and that's a good. You know what, Dante? I may not. Well, you'll find out momentarily, but I might be on your side with that. Doug Bond says, "I wish we got more Fink for Raw 25. Do you guys think they should get him to be the only announcer for WrestleMania every year?" I don't know that he wants to do it every year. I was actually okay with it, him being the one at the Manhattan Center.
Mm-hmm.
What I loved about the Manhattan Center, it really did look like the old arena. The best thing about the Manhattan Center was the Ico Pro
side.
banner.
I said the same thing.
Absolute best
I'm like,
part.
it was great that they had the blue mats and the red, white, and blue ropes
Yeah.
and everything, but the Ico Pro sign made the whole deal.
And I said last week on the show, I hope they have the neon light up WWF newer version
They
of it.
cut
but
part of it off,
With the
but
end of
yeah.
it cut off. But I hope that they would have that up by the entranceway. They gave me everything I could have asked for as far as that went.
The only thing that I wanted out of that they didn't have were the big stand-up RAW, where they used to come from behind the A and like walk out and come down the aisle. But
the reason, and obviously the reason they did it, it was what it was 25 years ago, the day it debuted, to what it is today.
Right, exactly.
So it totally made sense. What I would have loved to have seen, and I knew we were never going to get, was to have, obviously you can't have Savage there, but to have McMahon do the commentary from the Manhattan Center with Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler.
That would have been fantastic. Obviously, especially with a show that big, Vince isn't going to do that.
Right.
It's the only thing that was missing for me. But I enjoyed it. There wasn't enough done there. The one thing we didn't mention that happened there, obviously, we had the Hardy-Wyatt match. What people didn't see was when after they left from there, Jeff Hardy got into the ring, and they did the I fade away and classify myself as obsolete.
Well,
obsolete.
and he was referred to as Brother Nero.
Yes.
They didn't refer to him as Jeff Hardy.
Well, I don't think they have the full rights to it yet, so they still could not do that on the air.
Right.
But it was a cool fan video to see that.
Yeah.
I also loved Mike Chioda.
Wearing the old blue.
Yeah, the old blue with the tie.
It was great.
Oh my God.
There was a Mike Chioda chant too. Which I found hilarious.
He should have taken some time off camera and grew out a mullet for the show.
Oh, that would have been great.
Oh, it would have been done. But getting back to Rumble, I know we're going to run through the card. We're definitely going to get through some of our predictions on what we think is going to happen. Matt, let's start running down the card, buddy.
All right, then. So we got the WWE Smackdown Tag Team titles. Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin taking on the Usos, who are the defending champions.
I think Gable and Benjamin go over finally here. I think is that a 2 out of 3 falls match?
It is a 2 out of 3 falls.
I think this is the one where we finally get the title change. I wouldn't be surprised if after Mania there's going to be a shakeup. I don't think at this point the Usos need the titles. I love what they're doing, but maybe a brief chase before you get a potential shakeup coming up in the next 6 months. I would like to see. I like what Chad Gable's doing with Shelton Benjamin. I think his mic work's getting really good, and I like how they're kind of playing this whole martyr angle and all that. So I love it.
Which
they're
would
great.
make sense because to put the belts on them, so that way you can kind of increase Gable's stock a little bit. Plus Benjamin, it gives him something to do, coming back and kind of being mentor /
He's been
veteran.
awesome since he's been back.
And
he looks old as hell, but he's been awesome.
He's still capable of doing a really good match. There's nothing missing there. But it's, in my opinion, to boost up his stock for Gable, it makes perfect sense to put the belts on them and get a legit win over the Usos in a 2 out of 3 falls match, walk away tag team gold, and there you go. You have a very solid tag team for the tag titles.
Doug, we mentioned earlier real quick, he asked about Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash has had surgery and was unable to fly. It was a literal health risk that could, similar to Candido. If he flew, he was risking getting blood clots and stuff. That's why he ended up missing the show. So we'll just leave that there.
Ryan, before I hit this one, you got any thoughts on this?
On
Gable and
I think Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin are going to win. I know a lot of people are talking online. They're saying who would they face next? Then it's easy. It's the Bludgeon Brothers.
I don't know if I throw them right into the Bludgeon Brothers. They're going to give them a few programs. It could be a smaller tag team. It could be something like the Fashion Police or give them a little bit of a run. I don't know that they're going to go right at the Bludgeon Brothers because you can't just have them get destroyed right away by the Bludgeon Brothers.
Well, I understand that, but it just seems like they've been – I think, the booking has been really serious on trying to establish the Bludgeon Brothers. It's kind of like, what are they going to do? I almost look at it as a positive for the Bludgeon Brothers, and because I've been saying for months that – I think the ending of the Benjamin Gable storyline is going to be Benjamin turning on Gable, making Gable the underdog, then cementing Gable as a mid-card star.
Now, see, I'm actually there, but I think I'm already there in the sense that I don't think they win the titles. I think the Usos retain, and from this point to WrestleMania, you get a slow burn of Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin kind of starting to blame each other for not being able to win the belts.
That could be.
And because they didn't bring Shelton Benjamin back to be a tag team champion. They brought him back to get Chad Gable over as a single.
Yep.
And I think that they've done so well so quickly that they don't need the belts at all to accomplish what they want to do. So I think what happens is they win the first fall, and then they drop the second 2 falls, and the frustration just starts to build during the match. And after the match, I don't think there's a turn, but I think you start to see facially the frustration between the two of them, and the blame games start to happen. and I think it cashes in as a one-on-one at WrestleMania.
Well, you could even pull, the jealousy card of, hey, my former tag team partner isn't even a tag team wrestler. He goes over to Raw and he wins a tag team title. I got this guy who's a former tag team champion, an established star in the industry, and we can't seem to get over the hump. And his frustration can build with that as well. There's a lot of angles you could play it with. But, yeah, I mean, and you know what? If that happens, I could see that absolutely, and maybe then it is the Bludgeon Brothers who finally knock off the Usos.
So you're in the same boat as I am, but you're just getting to it much quicker.
I think they don't even necessarily get a tag team title run before the split, because I think the object is to get Gable as an established single as quickly as they can.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so Raw tag team titles.
Okay.
And that is Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan against The Bar.
Is there anybody who doesn't think the Bar is winning him back?
I don't know,
Not
because, I mean, if there's any truth to that whole issue with Sheamus's neck, I don't know that he can sustain another run like that.
But if they're going to set up Jordan and Rollins for WrestleMania, they got to drop him at some point.
I really don't want to see that.
I know.
And
Me either.
Matty and I were talking about this before the show, to where if they're trying to give Sheamus his last, quote unquote, his last run,
It's a good opportunity.
It's the perfect opportunity. It's in a tag to where you would put most of the load on Cesaro, obviously, and I don't think anyone would really mind, given Cesaro's incredible to watch in the ring. You have them be champions up until WrestleMania, and then they drop it. And then, then they can really establish where to go with Sheamus, because I've read numerous different sources that they really want to try and do a Cesaro push again, but it's been pushed back due to the Sheamus situation.
Right.
So I really think it's you put the tag belts on the Bar, you have them be champions, they drop it to whoever at WrestleMania. Monday after, that's where it kind of splits and they go their separate ways.
My concern with that,
real quick, Mike. Let me take this out one step further with you.
Mm-hmm.
What I would actually love to see at the end of all of this is sort of the art imitating life of a Cesaro Seth Rollins tag team. Ooh,
could be interesting.
Ooh,
because I mean they're travel partners. They've done ride along. They have the history from ROH. They have the history from FCW. Like, I would love to see the two of them paired up for a while. And obviously, the end game is way down the road because you still have Sheamus. You still have Jason Jordan. There's still a lot of stuff to go on. But I think end game, I would love to see that tag team come out of this at some point. Sorry.
Oddly enough for me, I would actually say Seth and Jason retain, but I think on the Raw pay-per-view, since it happens to be a Raw pay-per-view, that's when you see the Bar just get the belts back. Only because to protect Sheamus with the possibility of neck problems, don't put the belts on him. That way you could kind of, evaluate. He doesn't have to wrestle in a match. You could just keep him off, not keep him off the show. But if anything, Cesaro's the only one wrestling or taking any kind of bumps whatsoever.
Yeah, because I do think your tag team champions are featured more on the show in the ring. You can get away with more talking segments, especially if it's a chase, a rematch, or whatever it is. I'm leaning more towards the Bar, but my concern with that, too, is I don't know what WrestleMania is going to look like. There's always a ladder match. Usually it was the Intercontinental title. Last year it was the tag titles. I don't know if they're going to try to do that again. If they are, there's no way in hell Sheamus can do a ladder match.
No.
Let's be honest. That's done. Those days with Sheamus are done. And I don't know if that's something that would interfere, because I want to see that ladder match. It's like a part of WrestleMania now.
Could be the U.S. title this year, though.
It could be. That wouldn't surprise me. Who, by the way, we did not mention, my boy Bobby Roode is the U.S. champion. We totally bypassed that last week because we had Nick, who's much more important for our show at that point. But I did want to not bypass the fact that my man Bobby Roode got his first WWE title.
What is that, Mike?
WWE.
And it was
Walk with Elias.
glorious.
WWE is Walk with Elias right now, guys.
yeah, I honestly think I true, and you can give it a bold prediction. You can call it whatever you want. I just think it's going to be Bar on a crashing course with the titles. I think they're going to end up dropping it to Brother Nero and the Woken one, and I think that's going to be the ending of the bar. So
Could be.
That's why I really think it would make sense to put the belts back on them.
Could be.
Possibly. All right, so the WWE. Well, do you want to hold off on the Universal title and go to the Women's Royal Rumble?
No, we're going to do the Rumbles last.
All right,
let's
so
get
we'll
the title
do
in.
Universal Championship, Brock Lesnar, Kane, and Strowman.
This one's interesting. I think this is going to indicate a lot of where the Rumble might go as well. I'm sticking with that. I definitely think Brock's going to retain.
And I'm right there with
And
you.
I
Me
think
too.
Yeah, Brock,
Kane's
yeah.
going to take the pin.
Yes.
Again, for all those people bitching that Kane is in this match, he is winding down his career. I've read this on numerous sources. WWE respects the guy to the fullest, and they should, for all the work he's put in. And for his age, he's still in phenomenal shape. They bought him in and gave him an opportunity to have another main event program as a thank you sort of.
Another main event payday.
Yes.
At a Big 5 pay-per-view.
Yeah, and an opportunity for him as a veteran to pass the torch to the next quote-unquote monster, another big guy. Because, listen, I mean, we know he's worked great programs with guys like, Roman Reigns and whatnot. But having him in there and kind of take over that role as the monster, it's just another huge feather in his cap to push him to that main event scene. And I think him and Kane have been fantastic against each other up to this point. So people bitching about Kane being in there, if you respect Kane, give him that.
Yeah.
Let's give it to him. Okay? I think he's probably going to be done after Mania. He's got to focus on his running for mayor in North Carolina.
Kane County,
Knoxville.
or is it Kane County,
Knoxville.
Tennessee, or something like that?
Knoxville, yeah.
I first off, I agree with you. I think it's 100% going to be Brock that wins. And I've seen a lot of people online saying, like, oh, Strowman has to win because if he doesn't win, what is he going to do? I think it's very simple what he does. I think it's very simple because I think the storyline would be fantastic. The promos would be great. I think it would be two sides of the spectrum clash. I think he feuds with The Miz. I think that would be fantastic. I truly do. I think that's a WrestleMania match.
Well, he has had history with The Miz. I mean, he pretty much scared the hell out of The Miz Taraj when he came back from the dumpster.
Like, could you imagine? And they could kill time with this. They could have Braun Strowman versus Bo Dallas the next week versus Curtis Axel the next week versus both of them.
Or The Miz just, like, he tries to, like, use his connections or what have you because he's a star. Try to throw people at Strowman to keep himself away and to hold on to, like, either the Intercontinental title if you want to go that route and have him win it.
The other angle they could play is Kane takes the pin and Braun gets pissed off and says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm now entrant number 1 into the Royal Rumble.
Could be.
They could do that, yeah.
Huh.
That would be cool,
Yeah,
actually.
I'm not finished with you. I'm not finished with anybody.
Mike, that would be badass, actually, if he did that.
That
would
is
be
that is
badass.
not lazy booking.
No,
it's not.
That'd be great.
Not at all.
No.
That's a goddamn genius idea.
No, I
Well,
can see that. but-
and I mean, just in terms of like the physical layout of the card, I think we all can agree the women's rumble is going to be first, right?
First
I'm thinking
in the night.
I think
Oh, before the men's, yes.
there's a pre-show.
Yeah.
But I think what they're going to do is they're going to do the same thing they did with Hell in the Cell, where they had the 2 Hell in the Cell matches be the opener and the end.
Could be.
I think they go women's rumble to kick it off and men's rumble to tie it up.
Yeah,
It
that's
could
probably
be.
right.
It'd be it's a hot way to start the show for sure. And I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah,
throw a
I
little
was
TA, throw a little TNA out there to start the night.
What's the pre-show match? Is it one of the tags?
I don't think.
I think
they've
originally it was going to be the
identified it yet.
Cruiserweight title.
I could see them putting.
Oh,
one of the
you're right.
tags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might put a tag in there. They might put
Yeah.
Smackdown tag in there.
It'll probably be like the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Ascension or some shit like that. We'll see.
Or you'll get like you'll get like the 4-way tag match. You'll get like the Bludgeon Brothers versus the Ascension versus Breezango versus Rhino and Keith Slater.
Or no, let's not overthink it. It's probably still going to be slated for a cruiserweight match, but it's probably
be.
just going to be a multi-man. That's probably what it's going to be.
Probably.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I buy into that.
Well, do you think that they crown a Cruiserweight champion at the pre-show?
No, it's just going to be a 6-man.
No.
It's probably going to be a
Okay.
rematch of what happened on
Yeah.
the other night.
Now, you're either going to get a tournament or you're going to get
One-off match.
some kind of a battle royal or what have you. I don't think that they're not going to use a pre-show as a way to award a new
I mean,
champion.
with the way that they've been booking the cruiserweight division, it wouldn't surprise me though.
Right,
That's
but I
lazy
think
booking.
the quote unquote secret GM of the 205 live show of the cruiserweight division, there's got to be some sort of tie-in with whoever they name as the commissioner and the avenue that they take to crown a new champion. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if it winds up being someone who was involved with the Cruiserweight Classic to begin with.
Could be.
And then then they go the tournament route.
Yeah, and I mean, you could do the logical route of, okay, now we have this vacant title. We have this authority figure that's coming out. It's a way they can come out into the forefront and establish their authority.
Right.
As this is what we're going to do on my show, and yada, yada, yada.
Mm.
So there's a lot of ways you could play with that.
All right, so what's our next title match?
The WWE Championship in a handicap match. AJ Styles defending against the Best Buddies, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, or the new version of the Best Buddies.
Oh, to me, Kevin Owens. And I think this is where AJ Styles wins this. This might be where the tension starts. I think the long game is Kevin Owens ends up turning face and Sami Zayn stays the heel. And this is where the tension's going to start.
Now,
Kevin Owens needs a refresh.
Most
I love them to death, but he can work the same gimmick as a face in a little bit of a different way and tweak it and just take it to another level.
how many people here think there's going to be a false finish where they're going to have both of them pin AJ at the same time, and then they're going to have that whole
The old
fiasco?
dusty finish.
Because a part of me is
Some
thinking that's going to happen.
Some goofy finish.
Because they usually do something like that.
I didn't think of it.
They will restart the match, and AJ will still win, but they're going to take it. They'll take all the dramatic out of it and just like, hey, we're going to have this
Well,
false
didn't they
finish.
already announce they're going to be co-champions if they win?
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't think that plays into this, but
It might, though, because think about it, Shane and Daniel are having this problem on SmackDown. Maybe
Daniel
they
Bryan's
have
the
Shane
authority,
come out
yeah.
and say, no, that can't stand because you can't have two people win the belt. Daniel comes out and says, why not?
yeah, but they've already established that two can win the belt. So they've made it very vocal that both are co-champions. So it's not something that Shane can find some weird loophole. It's been stated very obviously.
All right.
and-
I honestly hope they don't go out of their way to make any shenanigans with this match because
They will.
there were shenanigans with the previous pay-per-view match that whole storyline was involved in. And two, the Royal Rumble is known for having a lot of ins and outs, shenanigans, a lot of stuff that's other than wrestling. So I hope they don't overdo it.
All right, here's my bold prediction on this. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win the title. And it rides through February into the SmackDown pay-per-view in March, where AJ Styles will team up with Shinsuke Nakamura to win the title back and then declare that at WrestleMania they will go one-on-one for full ownership of the title.
That's a bold prediction.
That's
We'll
what I
keep
said.
an
It's
eye
a
on
bold.
it.
It's a bold prediction.
Be the first ever tag team title match for one championship
so-
to share.
I don't know about that. I think they're back in the old Mid-Atlantic like NWA days.
Oh, boy.
I think there were. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. I think the deal back then was, and I want to say it was like the U.S. title and the TV title were, it was. I want to say it was maybe Tully Blanchard and somebody.
Arn Anderson?
I don't know if it was Arn or not, but it was. I think it was Tully and somebody. Might have been Gino Hernandez. I mean, this goes way back.
Okay, this is going back in the day, yeah.
And they lost their two individual titles to the other guys in a tag match. Like both titles are on the line, so it's not unprecedented. It's just an old school concept.
Well, they didn't do it all that long ago. I mean, even they did it in 2001 at Backlash with The Undertaker and Kane as tag champs. Austin and Triple H were Intercontinental and WWF champions. So they had
there you
all
go.
four titles on the line.
And they did it with Diesel and Shawn Michaels versus who was the tag champs at that time at an In Your House pay-per-view.
In Your House, I love that.
Not
wow.
remember who it was
With
though.
the blimp flying around.
They gave away the house.
Gave away the
first
house,
pay-per-view.
yeah.
with the PlayStation
That was
blimp.
Diesel versus Psycho Sid for the first main event of them.
Yep.
I'll remember who the tag champs were, but they ended up obviously Kevin Nash and
Right.
Shawn Michaels won. Daniel Bakley says, I wonder if it's Rockstar Spud who signed months ago as a potential GM, I'm assuming he's saying, which would be interesting. Do you know
It
who
would
Rockstar
be
Spud?
very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's actually a
Some
really
people-
good name.
A lot of people don't know who Rockstar Spud is. I do. He was
It's,
good.
it's a shame if they don't because he was really, really entertaining.
Yeah, he's a very entertaining. He's one of those few guys. If you don't watch any of TNA, he falls through the cracks. But he would be an interesting name. Matt says, he says they are doing. Matt Milcarrick says they're doing that at the NXT house show tomorrow. They're doing a tag match for the NXT title. They're testing it.
Interesting.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
So we'll have to see
Okay,
how that
okay.
works out. I was not aware of that. But
I was not aware of that either.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that the one in Tom's River that we were talking about
I
last
believe
week?
it might be.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, no, it's an interesting idea. We'll see what happens. But to me, there's no way. I like your train of thought though. If they win, I'm totally on board with your
My man.
whole build to that. Because if they do anything other than that, it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You managed to find the only sliver of an angle where it could actually work.
I'll
we'll
take
see.
it. I'll
But
take
it's
it.
also gonna that's also gonna have a lot of other factors like the men's Royal Rumble
Right.
winner. Which do we want to do, men or women first?
We got to do women first.
Let's do the women first.
I think we have to.
All right,
Okay.
so the Women's Royal Rumble.
He says he says real quick. He says, it was Owen Hart and Yokozuna were the tag champions.
Okay.
Thank you, Doug Bond.
Oh, okay.
And Matt says it's CN and Lars Sullivan versus Gargano and Roderick Strong. So
Okay.
it's a full tag match
But with one title on the line.
with one
Interesting.
title on the line.
That is
Interesting.
very
So whoever
interesting.
takes the fall wins the title. Interesting.
Yeah. So
So then if Lars goes for a pin, CN could actually break up pinfalls for his own
he
team
could.
so that he doesn't lose his title.
That'll be interesting.
It'd
to
be
see
very
how that
interesting.
works.
Hey, we could be onto something here.
So if anybody's
That is not lazy booking.
if anybody's going to this show, and I know there are people I know, he says yes. If there's anyone going to this show, report back to us.
You're talking Tom's River tomorrow night,
yeah,
right?
the show
Okay.
tomorrow night, the NXT show. Report back to us whether it's on A2D's page or if it's on
The lazy booking
the Lazy
page.
Booking page, and let us know how it goes.
Hit up lazy booking on Twitter, whatever you
Yeah.
got to do.
Yeah, because I'm really curious to know how this is going to work out. But let's hit the women's match. There's going to be a lot to talk about, I think, with this. A few things that we had talked about off that we didn't discuss with Raw 25 because we thought it kind of tied into this. There were a few people who were left off the show, and I like your train of thought. Yours is more of out of sight, out of mind, even though some of the names have been floated out
I
as
think
obvious names.
To me, the two biggest,
Could be creating deception.
correct, Beth Phoenix and Lita. And I think they could easily explain away Beth Phoenix by saying, well, if Edge couldn't make it, neither could she. But they really don't have any explanation for Lita, especially given that she is still a WWE employee. And I think the fact that they were not on Raw 25 kind of, like I was saying, out of sight, out of mind, it makes for a bigger surprise on Sunday if they enter.
And I'll add another layer to this as well. So I'm sure we all know that Stephanie McMahon announced, I believe it was yesterday, that she's going to be announced. She's going to be on the announce team for the Women's Royal Rumble match. Before that, I believe it was the Mae Young Classic. Lita was doing some commentary.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, maybe the original plan was for it to be Lita to do the play-by-play commentary for the Women's Royal Rumble match. But then they saw an opportunity for Lita to come back and be involved in the Rumble, or maybe it could be as simple as they just didn't like her commentary. Maybe they didn't get good feedback. And now Stephanie McMahon is stepping in for it. Because I felt like it makes sense, don't get me wrong, because like she said, she announced it. She was obviously a big part in it being a thing, so it makes sense for her to be on the commentary team. But it just seems so random, you know what I mean? To where it makes sense now if Lita is involved in the actual match.
Now, this is just a total, something out of left field, but this is WWE, so shit like this happens.
I know what you're going to say, but go ahead, do it. Do it up.
So Lita does not show up in the Rumble. She's actually not even, she's not there. But she shows up on Raw the next day. and she is beyond pissed because she wasn't invited to come to Raw 25, even though she is currently an employee in WWE. They never really wanted her to be on the Women's Rumble. So now I'm going to cut promos. I'm going to cut big promos here on Raw. I mean, I'm not throwing it out of left field only because WWE does shit like this, where they'll bring people out to do things like this. And the reason what it leads into, Lita decides to take the women's division and say, you know what? I'll show everybody why I'm the best. I'm only throwing out there because this is WWE and they do shit like this.
But she can't run a full-time schedule.
Yeah.
So I think you get more mileage out of her as a surprise entrant in the Rumble who is maybe in there 5 minutes and she's out. Unless you go your route where she plays the disrespect card, but the way it gets tied in is she winds up becoming Ronda Rousey's trainer, manager, whatever. Because she can't do it herself.
Yeah.
She's going to have Ronda Rousey, whatever.
And that's
what I thought you were going to say was that Stephanie enters at number 30.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to say that.
That is where I thought you were going.
No, but
that she sits at the announce table and then pulls a Jerry the King Lawler and enters at, for her would be number 30.
The crowd would lose their freaking minds.
You want to see them really lose their mind? She wins. You might see Philly get burnt to the ground early before
that would
the
be
Super
losing
Bowl.
their minds in a negative.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. This is WWE. Let's not pull back all realms of bad booking. All that is a possibility at all times.
Yeah. See, I mean, then again, I said the same thing when they did the Money in the Bank and they had that real shitty gimmicky ending to the first one. I can't imagine the first Women's Rumble that they go that route.
I don't think she wins, but I just think the McMahon ego is too big for her to not be in it.
I'm not saying that's not a possibility, but I don't know if I see it happening.
And that's fine. I'm not. I ain't mad at you.
I wouldn't be surprised. I could totally say it. But I can't say that I definitively see that happening. I would think more – I think if anything, it's putting yourself over. I have to be on that commentary desk.
Here's the question. If it's not Stephanie at number 30, who's it going to be? Who do you guys think number 30
Ronda
will
Rousey.
be?
Oh, and that's
I agree.
And that's kind of the general problem with the whole thing is even if you just say that, okay, they're going to take every woman on Raw, every woman on SmackDown, and even every woman in NXT, plus Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, you still have, 6 slots left to fill?
Listen, Chris, I think it's singing in, man. If I got your name wrong, I apologize. Pulls up a name that I was going to pull up tonight. Caitlyn.
Well, yeah, you had mentioned that last week, too.
I mentioned
her
last week, but she's done independent booking. I think, to me, she's almost a shoo-in.
I think that's a good possibility.
So you have her. I definitely think you get Beth Phoenix. I think you get Lita. I think that
I would agree with that.
You're throwing other names. I think you might get people that you don't know. You might get or that you don't think of. You might get 1 or 2 people from like old TNA days. We said Karma could be one.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Angelina Love being somebody that pops in. She's tweeted a number of times, including during the Mae Young Classic, that she wanted to participate.
Who's Bubba Ray Dudley's wife?
Velvet Sky.
Yeah, Velvet
It's okay,
Sky.
so maybe
Sky
Velvet
was a
Sky.
name, yep.
Probably Nikki Bella.
I think
She was in ring gear on Monday.
Nikki Bella or Brie Bella. Brie Bella's been training for a comeback. That's been on their YouTube page. You might get both of them.
Kelly,
maybe. She looked amazing. Like, ridiculously amazing.
Is there any chance of Tori Wilson?
No. Tori has already said she's done. She will not get back in the ring.
Then Trish.
I don't think at this point, new mom, I don't know if Trish. I mean, I wouldn't put it past. I would like to see it. I don't know.
How wild was it, though? Out there on stage, you had Maria Kanellis was pregnant. Maurice Mizanin was pregnant. Nikki Bella just had a baby. Or, I'm sorry, Brie Bella just had a baby. And
Trish like a year ago
Trish
had a
just,
baby.
yeah, not even a year
Yeah.
ago had a baby. Like, they're all like popping kids out and they're done. They're like, you know.
Trish has 2 now. So
Whereas Brie Bella is now like, okay, well, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
All right. Does the nanny travel with you?
Greg says, now that Kelly is single, Chrome, you have any connections for her digits? I do not, unfortunately. Because if I did, your ass wouldn't be getting them.
She's
They'd
not
be
one
mine.
of the 1,000 people that you've met.
I have met her, actually.
Her and Sheldon Soray made a whole lot of money, and then they got divorced and said, thank you, bye-bye.
Yep, smell you later. But, no, I think there's a lot of names throwing them out. If anybody else has any more, throw some in. That's just some of the names that I can think of. And then there's other.
So we need to pick a winner, right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so how many people here are voting Ronda Rousey? Wow, really? Just Chrome?
Nah, we got Frank over
Oh,
here,
and Frank.
too.
Wow, I'm surprised, though. I thought we were going to get a lot more hands.
All right, well, how many people are going Asuka?
That would be my number
I would
2.
love to go Asuka, but I'm thinking they're going with Nia.
Me too.
Because she got a huge reaction when she got tagged in on Raw.
Who's she eliminating? Because I think it's very simple on my end.
Ronda or
It's Ronda.
is Ronda?
She's
Yeah.
eliminating Ronda because everyone, if it comes down to those two, everyone's thinking Ronda's eliminating Nia, to where it's gonna be they're gonna flip the switch. Do you know how much of a star Nia Jax is already a star? Imagine if she eliminates Ronda Rousey on her debut night, and then she goes to face the title.
No, I think Nia is going to be in that spot that you see in the men's with like Big Show and Mark Henry,
Where they get
everybody
eliminated.
she starts throwing.
Oh.
She could build a star by a number of eliminations, and then
Yeah.
finally everybody comes in
Gangs
and
up on
gets
her.
her
Oh,
out.
But
it could
here's-
happen. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. With Big Show and Mark Henry, they were always
Or
been
her and Karma at the same time as they're tangled up because she's
Right.
throwing people out left and right. Karma comes in. There's a bunch of them laying down on the ground. They're having a face-off, and then they dump them both
Well,
out.
let's back up a second, though, because I do think the Ronda Rousey elimination has to come from Nia, because if it doesn't, then I think you've wasted the appearance.
Yeah.
But I think it comes relatively early, and then, to Chrome's point, then you start seeing a bunch of whoever else is left gang up and throw Nia out, because neither of them, in my mind, is going to win.
Okay, so since you guys got Nia out and Ronda out, do you think that that's a WrestleMania match between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey?
No. The reason why I think Nia is going to win, I think the WrestleMania match is going to be her versus Alexa Bliss.
Nia versus Alexa Bliss?
Yeah,
Correct. I
the
mean, it makes
supposed
sense.
best friends.
Yes, they've been building to it. They've really kind of been avoiding it. So that's my opinion there.
No,
It's not a bad
yeah.
opinion.
No,
I
no.
can see it. I mean, that's the interesting part about the women is there's so many directions they can go.
Yeah.
I
We
think
gotta-
the men's is more figured out.
We have
we're
like
gonna move
8
to the
minutes
men's.
left, so who's your winner?
Of the women's?
Yeah.
Nia.
Okay, so you're on Nia. You got Ronda. I'm going Asuka.
Nia.
Nia. Okay. Interesting.
All
I
right,
like
let-
it.
All
So
right.
let's
so
jump.
this is our poll question now in the grand finale of the night.
Yeah.
The Men's Royal Rumble. It's weird saying that. Men's Royal Rumble and
Yeah.
Women's Royal Rumble. Never thought I'd actually say that.
Hey, I'm happy we did.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's
the
a long
choices
time
for the
coming.
poll question were
Well, we had the obvious names that have been thrown out, especially by Vegas. You have
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns, John Cena, Shinsuke Nakamura, and other. I believe that Shinsuke Nakamura is going to win.
as do I.
I
I'm on
believe that
Shinsuke.
with
do I.
Raw having the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, that has tended to be a number one contender spot, whoever doesn't win the Rumble. So to me, that could be a large indication. I can't see, let's say Cena wins. What is at stake that is that valuable? I mean, listen,
Besides beating Ric
do
Flair.
people care about an I mean, we'll watch it, but do people really care about an Intercontinental title elimination chamber? You don't have enough mid-card names for that. It's a big featured match with stars. Not even tag team on Raw. So to me, that's where you get Roman winning, Roman against Brock. I don't know that I'm totally convinced because I could also see Braun and Cena at WrestleMania, by the way.
Okay.
Not something out of the realm if you don't get Undertaker.
David Roscoe's still mad that we didn't pick Mandy Rose, but that's okay.
Oh, well, Roscoe, if she wins, buddy, you get all the glory.
That's right.
Yeah.
You get all the glory.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
I didn't mean to fall back, but go ahead.
No, but
So wait, are all four of us picking Nakamura?
I believe so.
Yes. And I think, honestly, the reason why is that in our universe, we all think that the two main events, it's going to be Brock and Roman and AJ and Shinsuke.
Like it should be. That's
Like
the
it
key
should
word.
be.
It should be. Underlined.
I think more, and I know Vegas loves Cena so much right now, but it does. I've seen it change the day of the event and make a big switch. Now, what I'm more interested about is the names you might see. I think we get Jericho. I'm hearing. Oh, I don't know how it would work unless they build a partnership, but I'm hearing Omega's name more. And
Wait, are you talking for WrestleMania or the Rumble?
for the Rumble?
Well,
There's surprises in there. I think you get EC3 for sure.
The only way that works for the Rumble, and I had actually talked about this with a couple people a couple weeks ago. Jericho has a show in, I want to say, Ireland on Sunday night, but they're the opening act. They're not a headliner. So,
and they're ahead of us.
And they're 6 hours ahead of us. So the way that they make that work is WWE basically has to have their private jet in Ireland. Jericho's band gets done playing. They immediately whisk him from the concert venue to the airport, onto the jet, and across the ocean. And it's basically, it's a 7-hour commute, but they are 6 hours ahead of us. And if he enters at number 28, he's entering at what? 10:35, 10:40 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's feasible.
Well, it's enough to convince people too, knowing he has a show. And but I think Omega's a name to look out for. I definitely think you're going to get EC3.
Now, if Omega does show up and the crowd just goes crazy, do you see a spot where it's him and Balor in the ring alone? And they're just staring down at each other.
That would be a cool spot.
Because
absolutely.
That would be the ultimate way to use that appearance. Because if he doesn't do that, then, like you were saying earlier, Mike, that kind of wastes the appearance
But
a little bit.
you're contradicting what you were talking about earlier, though, with catering to the majority of your fan base versus the hardcore Japanese fans.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
The hardcore
okay.
Japanese fans would understand the significance of the stare down.
You're right.
But I think if you're going to use Omega in any way, it has to be the entrant immediately after Jericho and cash in on the heat from Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, you're right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys have any other names that you think could show up?
I mean, I think you're absolutely spot on with EC3.
Unfortunately, Bobby Lashley contractually cannot show up because he can't fight. He can't wrestle outside until February 1st.
It wouldn't surprise me if the talks with Neville heat up this week and he shows up as a surprise entrant.
He could be
because he is still technically under contract to WWE. It's basically they're negotiating either a return or a release.
Yeah.
So
I think the Rey Mysterio rumors going around,
yes.
I don't necessarily buy into it because haven't we heard TNA being involved with his name? I mean, he could be going to TNA. That's what I read last week. And then with Batista, it's kind of like, well, we've talked about it before. Unless he's going to get a long-term storyline.
Unless he wins, he's not coming.
Yes, exactly.
All right, guys.
Maybe James Storm.
James Storm is a name that, absolutely.
Now, what would be interesting?
Have him and
Bobby
Roode
face off.
That's correct.
That would be. I actually think, Matty, to your idea with Omega and Balor, I actually think more people would understand and pop for the Bobby Roode James
I'll lose
Storm.
my mind if I see Bobby Roode and James Storm have a stare off.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Is there one NXT guy you expect? If there's an NXT guy, who is it?
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I was going to say Drew McIntyre.
Aleister Black.
I was going to say Alistair.
It would be one or two of the others. So,
although I would lose my shit for Velveteen Dream.
Again, words right around my mouth.
Velveteen Dream. Oh God.
I think he's awesome. I love the character.
absolutely.
Yeah,
he's taken one of those real gimmicky things and made it work.
Oh yeah.
Guys, great show tonight. Thank you, everybody who participated. We have had a hell of a week so far with Eagles talk. We got the Royal Rumble in our city. Philadelphia is on the fucking public stage right now, baby. We are on the national stage. Guys, enjoy Rumble. Enjoy Eagles week. Tune into all the shows here. Coming up in about a half an hour, we got Hockey Happy Hour. You got Mike AM and the PM on Wednesdays. We got the Fix on Tuesdays. I was right, Wednesdays.
Yeah, you're right.
Wednesday.
I'm thinking of my own damn show.
Oh, and real quick
Fix
to
on
everybody,
Wednesdays.
if you're going to NXT or the Rumble or Raw or SmackDown, keep an eye out for this crew because we'll be around.
Let me know,
We're there all 4 nights.
Yep, you got Birds of a Feather on Tuesday nights, the Fix on Wednesday nights as well. Guys, so many good things going on here. Sports Hounds Monday. Agree to disagree on Saturdays, right? Usually,
Yep.
but I think
Sundays.
we have Sunday. Whenever they go on. I don't know. I'm trying to get this all out quick. And we have our huge show in 2 weeks. 2 weeks for this Big Eagles show with everybody from the studio. That keep hanging with us. I'm trying to rush too much, guys.
Just cut it. Let Matty get us out of here, bro.
All right. Lazy Booking, brought to you by Gibson Mayer LLC, your certified public accountants. You can locate them at 301 Oxford Valley Road in Yardley, PA, and call them at 215-369-3300. This has been Lazy Booking on A2DRadio.com.